Adaptive Project Planning. Meet the authors as they discuss the use of planning templates in projects.
In the work that we did looking at governance documents within organisations, we found plenty of initiation documents, we found plenty of the business case type documents, we found plenty of closure documents. But what was interesting is that quite often we could not find planning documentation. In some cases, they didn't exist at all. And we talk about that a little bit in the book. But in other cases, what we would find is the project manager had multiple representations of what they called their plan.
Yeah.
And it is what they called their plan. And there was a very good reason for that, because in the initiation stages, the stakeholders you were dealing with are the governance groups primarily. And what we're looking for there is ways of displaying the project and getting some kind of agreement.
Yeah, we need to share information.
Yes, absolutely. But by the time you get to planning, you've got multiple groups involved, in particular, not just governance groups, decision makers. You've also got those people involved in the execution of the project.
Yep.
Now the planning process, now the planning documentation becomes certainly a communication device, tells people about what it is you're doing, but it also becomes much more a collaboration process. It's kind of, this is what I need to achieve, how can you help me? Or this is what you need to achieve, how can I aid that process?
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't think it's that surprising that we found multiple different ways of doing a plan. Yeah. And that leaves me with those concerns around templates.
But it's a large and expensive use of time, because very often the documents contained different information.
Yes.
Which, not different representations of it, but simply different.
Yes, and I do see that as a problem, and I think sometimes project officers react to that by saying what we'll do is we need templates and we'll make them more complex. We'll have multiple parts to the template and you select the bits you want. But I think there are problems with that.
Well, there are. I mean, the most obvious one is that it becomes the process of filling in the template that becomes the overriding concern of the project manager rather than the planning.
Yes.
And the attitude of following process as opposed to achieving something is very pervasive.
Yeah. That is not the mindset we're looking for.
No.
So concerns about templates from that point of view.
And I mean, when we were looking at success stories shared, that when we were looking at projects that had been successful in their execution, because I think there's a lot to be learned from success, we did find that the people who were successful, their planning varied according to what the demands of or the conditions of success for that project were. So it wasn't the content of the project or what it was attempting to do, or indeed the structure of any template, but it was the environment or the set of constraints and success factors that surrounded the project that ultimately determined what they did.
Absolutely. So, for example, when we looked at a project to do with the church restoration,
absolutely,
heavily budget, you can't, not a penny more type approach.
Absolutely.
And you see a particular kind of style and approach to planning in those types of projects.
Yes. I mean, his first and only concern in the end was making sure that he would be able to guarantee that he didn't spend another penny because nobody was going to fund it.
Yeah.
And that was very different from the time-critical projects that we looked at. Every one of them that had been successfully planned, they started from the end date and they worked backwards, iteratively saying, what do I need to have got done by this time in order to make sure that I can in fact finish.
Yes.
And neither of those had any impact at all upon the mission-critical project managers.
No.
They weren't bothered about how much it was going to cost and time, because in the end they knew that whatever happened, it had to be successful.
Yes.
So that gives us a little bit of insight that the project planning process is much more determined by what it is that's going to make sure the project succeeds. And we followed that train of thought for some time until we realised that actually it wasn't just the constraints that were working, the success factors. It actually mattered the order of them, the hierarchy. So the hierarchy of constraints, something which we talk about in the book quite a lot, becomes one of the ways of determining the types of projects and therefore the types of planning that you need to do. Yes. And it was that sort of thinking that led us in the end to call our book Adaptive Project Planning, because it turns out that when you're going to plan a project, what you have to do is to adapt your approach to make sure that you continue to be successful.
Adaptive project planning is now available via Amazon.com or by our website. So drop us a line if you're interested in this, or indeed interested in talks in this area. Then drop us a line at CITI or PyCubed in South Africa. Thanks for listening.